Hey guys, welcome back here to my channel and today to another episode here in Parkitect, and you'll all be pleased to know that we finally have an RMC coaster in Parkitect. Now RMC is a Rocky Mountain construction coaster similar to Twisted Colossus, Untamed, Wildfire, Lightning Rod, all these coasters that are so crazy and just amazing. And I've been on two of them. I've been on Twisted Colossus and I've been on Untamed. I preferred Untamed out of the two. Both of them were really good, but Untamed is really amazing. I haven't been on Seal of Vengeance, unfortunately, but I can only imagine how crazy that ride is. But I just wanted to share with you today this mod. Now, as you just saw there is an option on the slider there to do the catwalks automatic on either side of the track or on both sides. So that's a really cool feature. And also the track is actually heart-lined as well, which is really cool, especially for doing some of these crazy transitions. The mod is currently, well, I was working on it as a test just to see kind of what was a bit buggy, what didn't work, that kind of thing. And then I was reporting back to the maker basically and saying, hey, you know, this isn't working. That he's called Tiny Tony over on Discord. And yeah, basically I would just say, look, this is not quite right, maybe you can change this bit, etc, etc. And he's been working really hard on this mod for the last month or two, and he's really put a lot of changes in there since I've been building the coaster, etc. But what I've shown you so far is looking really cool, especially with the catwalks and the supports here that kind of support the track on those wooden beams are automatically generated, and they look really cool as well. So that's really cool. The trains on the track as well look awesome. They look just like the real RMC train, so that's really cool as well. The track is recolorable, of course, and each rail is separately colorable. So you could do something like the Joker at Six Flags Discovery Kingdom, which has one side green and one side purple. So that's something that you could do as well with this track type. And also there is a custom scenery mod as well, which you can download, which has the steel beams and wooden supports and things. So if there are some missing in some places, like for instance here on the first drop, you could go in manually and actually add in a few extra beams, etc. yourself. So those options are always there, and he's currently adding more pieces to that set as it goes along, as we think maybe we need an extra piece, etc. But there's some really cool pieces there that you can experiment and play with, of course, to make your RMCs really come alive. Another thing that I like to do is go into the in-game vanilla supports and actually add in the triangle wooden supports on the side of the coaster, just to give it that extra little bit of support. That's another little cool thing you can do. So yeah, basically right now I'm just kind of showing you in real time some of the features, basically what you can do, how the track looks, how it's kind of looking at the moment. And then in a minute I am going to get into a full build where I completely explore this coaster and some theming, etc., and just basically played around. I thought, you know, when he asked me nicely on Discord if I would be up for testing this mod, of course I jumped at the opportunity and said yes. But I also think the best way for me to do a test is to actually build a map and use this coaster as I would another coaster in the game. And so that's exactly what I did, and I went in and I've built a little diorama map, which I'm really proud of. I think it looks really cool, inspired by Wildfire in Sweden, and I'll get onto that just shortly. So as you can see here at the moment, I'm just trying out some of those in-game wooden supports on the side there. They look really cool, and I'm just going to take one of those little steel beams there, and I'm going to place it just on the side there, just to kind of give it that look of extra support. I was just playing around, seeing what these things look like. But yeah, really cool. At the moment, I do know he is planning on having an option where you can remove the in-game supports and actually build like a steel structure support, similar to Zadra or maybe Colossus. No, not Colossus, sorry, that's a complete lie. It's called Goliath at Six Flags America, I want to say. I could be wrong. So yeah, you could do something like that where it has this steel structure support, which I think looks really cool. So that is something that he's working on at the moment. This mod will be available on the 25th of December, so Christmas Day. So you can all play and build your favorite RMCs or make your own crazy designs. So here I am actually into the map now, and I'm going to go in and do a quick layout. And so I am very inspired by Wildfire for this. I wanted to have a coaster that was built on a rocky kind of surface of terrain. I didn't want it all to be flat, so I'm kind of keeping that in mind. And I wanted the drop to, the lift hill to have this turnaround, and the drop going down and dipping into a little bit of a ravine. So I'm going to kind of keep that in mind as well. I wanted to do like one of these full like twist kind of things in the opposite direction here on the first curve, but that wasn't quite working out with the space that I gave myself, and I ended up doing like a really big wave turn, which actually I think turned out to be a bit better, very similar to Outlaw Run, which I think I was also inspired by. Well, I was inspired by all the RMC coasters, but a few spring to mind with this coaster, and that's Wildfire, Outlaw Run, and Lightning Rod. Definitely took inspiration from those. I really wanted to get a one of these kind of zero-G stalls in there, but it just wasn't working out for this particular layout. But maybe in the future with another layout, I could put one of those in. But yeah, I had what the inversions do I have? I have two zero-G rolls in there somewhere, so it's not got a crazy amount of inversions. Not all of them do have a lot of inversions. They're mostly focused on airtime and that kind of change of direction in weird elements. So that's kind of what I went for with this one. And now that I've got somewhat of a layout kind of put down there, I'm just experimenting with those colors on the track. At the moment it's blue, but I am actually going to change those to more of like a goldy yellow color in a minute, which was really inspired by Untamed at Walibi Holland. One of my favorite roller coasters out there. It's so incredibly good. It's so smooth. It's so thrilling. It's amazing. And the airtime is just insane. And it's one of my favorite coasters, like I said. And I actually got the chance to ride it in the summer, in between the two lockdowns, and got a chance to go to Walibi Holland and actually give it a night ride, which was one of the best experiences ever. I really loved it. It put it even higher in my coaster rankings. So yeah, anyway, here we are. The coaster is now that goldy kind of color like Untamed, and I'm just going to go in and do a theme. First of all, starting off with the Q line. I'm going to call this Buzzsaw, just to kind of give it that kind of wild kind of, you know, we got Outlaw Run, Wildfire. I thought Buzzsaw was kind of cool. Kind of ripped it off from Ripsaw, the old top spin at Alton Towers. So we've got Buzzsaw going on. I thought it'd be quite cool. And then to do kind of iron work, this kind of steel corrugated iron roofs and things, give it that kind of like workplace. They've got like a mill there. They're doing woodwork, that kind of thing, in the side of the mountain here. So that was kind of the idea for the theming. Like I said, stole that from Wildfire basically. And then I'm just going to do the Q line, cover that up, and then I'm going to go in and do all the terrain as well, put the rock work in. I'll get to that in a second, and then I'll come back in a bit and actually build the station as well. I've cut quite a lot of footage out. This was like I filmed 6 videos of this map, and each video was about 1 hour and 15 minutes. So that, as you can tell, that's more than 7 hours of playtime. And so I've cut that down into this 20-minute video, just trying to show you those key bits of me putting together this map. Basically just showing off this new mod, which I think is fantastic, but of course I'm going to go in and do some theming and stuff, just to kind of support that coaster there. I could have just done a really simple layout in a flat piece of terrain and said, here you are, RMC, but I wanted to explore it a little bit more and give it some sort of more theming and detail, like I normally would do. So that's kind of what I've gone and done. So right now I'm doing the Astrotron style rock work using the cylinder. Great method, just gives you like an idea of your base of where the rocks will be and kind of helps you build it up. So I'm just doing that there. I want that whole center section of the map to be kind of rocky, and I want that lift hill and everything to be actually built on the rock. My original idea for this was to have one of those steel support structures going up the lift hill for this, but at the time when I built this, that wasn't actually available, but it will be now. So maybe I could do something similar and redo it a little bit. I actually built this quite a long time ago now, maybe like a month ago. So things were still being worked out. There were still bugs. There was things that needed to be checked. That's basically why I built this map. So things aren't perfect. So if you are looking at little things and thinking, hey, that looks a bit, you know, buggy or something, that's because at the time of building this, I was just testing it out. And those little kinks have been ironed out since I've made this video. Because we've had a little chat going on. Me, Max Freak, and Dan Amelie have been testing out this coaster for Tiny Tony. And so, yeah, we've basically been helping him out, iron all the kinks out, and he's been working really hard at actually fixing all these problems. So yeah, basically I'm just going in with the rock work. As you can see, I'm kind of placing it all down, going in with the terra painting as well, adding those kind of grays around the rock, and then I'm going to go in with that darker green, brownie color as well, and just kind of mix up that green a little bit, make it look a bit more uneven, that kind of thing. And the water at the moment for me as well is too blue, so I will change that, make it a little bit darker, make it match this kind of scenic thing that I've got going on a bit better. Here we go. This is the thing I like to do. I like to do circles with the brown and green terra painting, kind of give it a bit more of a texture, makes it look a little bit more uneven and a bit more kind of like it's used a real earthy kind of thing. And then I'm going in now with different shades of grey and kind of just colouring in all those different rocks. I like to go in first with one colour with the rocks, get all the rocks in, and then go in with the different shades with the painting tool, and then add all the different shades into the rocks afterwards, which is easier for me to do it rather than do each color at a time. And so yeah, that looks much better. It's really good to get some dark rocks into your rock work. It really adds in like that kind of depth to the rocks, and I think it's much better. And the supports on the coaster do have automatic footers, but because I've done some rock work, I'm putting in some of my own footers there into the top of the rocks just to make it look a little bit more realistic. I love the way that wildfires supports and that are really buried into the rock work around the coaster. I think it looks really awesome, so I wanted to create that as well with my coaster. So I'm just going to go around and finish up doing that in all those places where any of those supports stick into the rocks. Makes it look much better. I'm going to head there and actually put a sign as well on the side of the lift hill, which I will light up as well at night time. I'm going to make the same sign for the entrance, which I'll get onto just in a bit, so you'll see that in a second. I didn't want to repeat myself twice. And yeah, that's the rock work basically pretty much done now. I'm going to go ahead and obviously now do some foliage and things. I've got Matt's Freaks Foliage Essentials 1 and 2 installed, so I'm going to go in and do that. Oh, before I do that, I'm just doing these like tunnels. I have these 2 areas of water, so I wanted there to be some sort of like a river that kind of streams through the terrain and then comes out at the other side. So that's the idea for these tunnels, with the little splash effect there going on. Just to join those 2 areas up. And I actually did add another little waterfall in as well, where there's this area which was a bit bare, and I was trying to figure out for a while what to do with that area, and I just ended up doing like a little waterfall. So now I'm going in with Matt's Freaks Foliage Essentials and adding in some of this lovely bushes and shrubbery and trees and things. I'm not going to go too much into showing you the shrubbery, just show you a little bit. I like to basically put it in corners, anywhere where I think it would be in real life, and also kind of in between rocks, that kind of thing. Don't like to do too much foliage, but I like to do just enough. And I think it looks better when you scatter it out and have spaces in between as well. And then usually I'm going to go in and usually I stick to maybe 3 tree types, and then I maybe shade those trees slightly different. I think any more than 3 tree types and it starts to look a bit crazy and a bit unrealistic, even though in some places there probably is more than 3 tree types, but for the game it looks better to just keep it that way. Now I'm going in with the terra painting and just adding in a grey underneath where the track is, because I always think that looks kind of good and realistic when I'm building coasters, so I've just gone ahead and done that. The coaster actually doesn't have a transfer track, and I don't know why I didn't do one. I realised kind of after I built everything. So we're just going to ignore that for this build, but normally I would do one because I like to really keep my things realistic. So yeah, just forget I ever said that. So now I'm going to go in and do the station. Now the station, I was a bit stuck in the beginning with what to do for the station, and then it really just kind of came to me. I was listening to some podcasts and I just started building, and yeah, it worked out really, really cool. I've just basically used the same design that I've already done for the queue line, and I've just gone ahead and basically made it bigger and made it as a station, using the corrugated iron, all those little pieces on top as well, using Construction Anarchy there to do that. Oh yeah, what I will say is that this mod, it does work with Coaster Anarchy, but there are some issues with like using the switch tracks, or if you wanted to use the drop tracks as well. They don't really work too well, but in general it works really, really well with Coaster Anarchy, and also with Track Edit Mod. Well, Track Edit Mod is always unstable. Every time they update the game, Track Edit Mod breaks. But at this time of building, I did have Track Edit Mod installed. I didn't really use it, but I needed it at the end to line the track up again with the coaster, because I did some diagonal slopes, curves, which normally make the whole thing go off grid, which you shouldn't do. And it did work with the Track Edit Mod at the time, so I don't know if Track Edit Mod now is working again or not. So if you are building this coaster, I do recommend that you basically use no Track Edit Mod and maybe try and lay off the Coaster Anarchy with this one. But there are some issues. You can't really do loops on this coaster just because the coaster is heartlined. Now heartlining is really cool. It adds great shape to your elements and to the curves, but when adding in elements that are pre-built like the loops, it doesn't really work very well. But RMCs, as of yet, I've never had a vertical loop, so I wouldn't worry about it too much. But if you're looking to do 0G rolls, corkscrews, and kind of 0G stalls and custom elements, then you're totally fine with this coaster. I just wouldn't use the vertical loop if you're thinking of using a vertical loop. So that's my 101 tips and tricks with the RMC with the Coaster B. And yeah, so now I'm just doing the roof of the station, adding in those little panels to give it that same look as the queue line. I really love that little idea. I think it looks really cool. And I'm just going to add like an entrance sign and some barrels and some crates, that kind of thing, because crates and barrels go a long way when you're doing some theming. Right now I'm just doing a little sign, so I've taken a disc from the shapes, some borders here just to do that, do the like the flat piece across the middle. Then I'm taking some cubes and I'm going to add little like bits around the disc just to make it look a little bit more like a buzzsaw. And then taking the text feature in game, I'm going to write the word buzzsaw, use one of the really cool fonts that comes with it, put that into the sign, and then I'm just going to add some now discs on the side either end and add a little black dot to make it look like screws. And there's your entrance sign for the ride, which I'm going to copy and paste it as well and put that on the front of the actual station building as well. Now the crates are going in, which I think they look really cool. I love using crates. Definitely help bring a theme together. If you're ever stuck, use rocks and crates and you'll be absolutely fine. Some foliage, that's looking really cool now. Yeah, just need to go ahead, tidy up the path. I'm going to add some fences in there, and I'm going to cover up the depot using the same style as the station. I don't think I'm going to do that on camera today because it gets a bit boring and you've just seen me basically do the same thing with the station building. But yeah, I'm just doing the paths now. I'm just using the same thing I always do, a little bit of a path cover to just run up the edges of the path, just tidy it up a little bit, kind of outlines it and gives it that really cool look. And then I've used the cobblestone. I think I go in and do different shades on the cobblestone. I do that very often as well. I have some things that I always come back to when building, and the same little techniques that if you want to call it techniques, the same little things I do when I'm building, and I do it for everything no matter what the theme is. And one of those things is using different shades on the paths, just to not make it all one color. I don't know why I do it, but I always do it. It's just something that I think looks good and I've always been doing it. This little area now where I'm putting the rocks is actually where I'm going to put another little pond with a waterfall, because I think that little grey area just looks really boring. And it kept sticking out to me, and I kept thinking that it looked a bit, something was wrong, so I needed to add something in there. But in general, the whole thing is somewhat complete now. I just, like I said, a few more fences and cover up that depot. But I'm just going to go in now and actually show you the coaster running around the layout. So I'll talk you through that as it's happening. And yeah, I hope you've enjoyed this video. Let's get into watching the coaster go around. So when I made this, like I said a month ago, there are a few issues. The coaster train, when going around a downward helix, does this little like shuffle thing, which has been fixed now. But it does it in this video if you notice that. But in general, it runs really well. I've had buggier things in Parkitect, if I'm honest, so this is really great, and I actually can't believe that we have RMCs now. So here we are going down that big vertical drop into the ravine there, over the river, into this nice wave turn where I dropped down. I made a little tunnel here, and we're going to pop up into a 0G roll over the next bit of water. Then we're going to go up and then around this curve, do a nice twist, 90-degree bank around this sharp curve here. We're going to drop down into another 0G roll corkscrew type thing. Then we're going to go through the structure in the rocks there, around the corner, dip back down over that river. Then we kind of do like a little kind of S-bend up, kind of double up thing. And then we're going to go into the brake run. And that is basically the RMC, guys. So I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you all next time for another episode. Bye.